Good afternoon. Vicar Jesse here from Bethel Lutheran Church, here with a daily message of encouragement that comes from Scripture. This summer, we're doing a sermon series looking at Luther's Small Catechism. Luther wrote this Small Catechism in 1529. He wrote it after visiting some churches in Saxony. After visiting these churches, he realized that there was a problem in Germany. Many baptized Christians didn't understand the fundamentals of the Christian faith. They couldn't even recite things like the Lord's Prayer or the Apostles' Creed. And so he wrote the Small Catechism as a tool for families to teach the faith to their children, to their servants, to everybody under their household. You see, Luther knew that faith started at home. It started with a parent's example to their children and grew from there. And so he gave parents a tool to use when they taught. Yesterday we spoke about the first part of Luther's catechism, the 10 Commandments, and how those commandments work in our life and why they're important today. For the remainder of the week, we're going to look closer at some of these commandments. The commandments are broken up into two tables. The first 3 commandments deal with our relationship with God. The remaining commandments deal with our relationship with our neighbor, with those we're in contact with the people around us. Today we're going to look at the most important commandment, the commandment on which all the other ones hinge, the first commandment. Luther always records the commandment with a question in his Small Catechism. Luther writes this, the first commandment: "You shall have no other God." What does this mean? We should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. We should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. You shall have no other gods. And you might say to yourself, I don't have any other gods. Jesus, the Trinity, that's my God. But Luther defines a God this way. A God is the term for that which we are to look for all good, and in which we are to find refuge in all need. Where do you go when you're in need? Where do you find good? Where do you look to, or what do you turn to when things are hard? Jesus in his journeys ran into a man who had another God, but didn't realize it. And so Jesus tells a parable. Our scripture for today comes from Luke, the 12th chapter, starting at the 13th verse. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So is the one who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich towards God." And he said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, nor about your body, what you will put on. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap, they have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you, by being anxious can add a single hour to his span of life. If then you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass, which is alive in the field today, and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? And do not seek what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. For all the nations of the world seek after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, seek his kingdom, and these things will be added to you. And Jesus tells this parable about a man who puts his faith in his storehouse of crops. That man dies that very night. Where do those crops go? Who is rewarded? Not the man. He loses all that. Jesus says we should not be anxious about those things, but put our trust in God who provides. Who is your God? Is it your bank account? Maybe it's your nation, your career, your education, your family. We all have things that we put before God. We all break that first commandment. But Jesus wants us to know that God will provide for us. In him we can rely. And that's why we have no other God. Hopefully you found some comfort in these words, some reassurance. If there's anything we can do for you at Bethlehem Lutheran Church, please feel free to reach out to us via email at office@blcdelmar.com. If there's anything I can do for you, please feel free to reach out to me directly at wilson@blcdelmar.com. And if you don't have a catechism, we have a bunch of them here at church. They're $15 a piece. If you would like one of these, send me an email and we'll make sure you get one. As always, God bless you. Have a wonderful day.